Joshua. I think personally this is the toughest opponent of Anthony Joshua's career so far. I know a lot of people are talking about Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko was, he was 40 years old or 41 years old, 18 months of inactivity, coming off the back of that loss to Fury. Still a great fighter, obviously a Hall of Famer, Vladimir Klitschko, but not the prime Vladimir Klitschko by any stretch of the imagination. And you kind of look at the other guys that he's faced, and while he has a very good resume for the heavyweight division, it is missing the Tyson Furies, the Deontay Wilders of this world, 100%. Of course, which we'll obviously come on to later. But I really do think, and this is a fight that I've wanted to see for a long time, Usyk versus Anthony Joshua. And it's a fight that Usyk's wanted for a long time. 2 Olympic gold medalists, a former undisputed champion against a unified champion.
Crazy.
While it's not Joshua Fury, while a lot of people were looking forward to that and wanted to see that, it's still a brilliant fight.
It's fantastic. And I think maybe that's the issue for some people, that it's not AJ Fury. But as a backup option, there's not many backup options better than that, right? AJ versus Usyk, it's scary. And as an AJ fan, it scares me. The fight scares me a bit because it's gone in my head. I've played this fight out so many times, and I've played out AJ just getting outboxed and potentially stopped. Like, honestly, I played that out, and I played out AJ sort of running through him. Like, okay, too big, too strong. And, I go back and watch the Usyk Bradis fight, the Usyk Hunter fight. I'm like, okay, he's good, but he's not as good as everyone makes him out to be. Just because I think a lot of people are maybe high on the Gassiev performance, which was a great performance, and maybe Tony Bellew, especially a lot of casual fans. And I think you maybe have to watch a bit of his other work. But he's such a smart fighter. Like, I did a little sit down with Tony Bellew for the Zone. We did like a little playback where we're I'm literally asking Bellew questions about the fight every round after round. And Bellew was like, physically, not intimidating, but he said mentally, it was so tiring because he's doing things, Usyk, and he's having to keep up. And it's almost like, he said it was like mental chess in his head where he thinks he's had a good round, but he knows that Usyk's just almost playing around with him. And he said after round 4, he said mentally, not physically, but he said mentally, I just couldn't keep up. It was almost too much for me. And that's my one feel of AJ, like mentally, when Usyk starts doing things that, when they say little phrase like going through the gears or just switch, can AJ compete with that? That's what scares me about this fight. But it's a great fight. I mean, honestly, with how boxing's been muddied recently, we need this. Like, boxing needs this because we've had so much nonsense in the last couple of months. Boxing needs a mega fight, 65,000 fans, and it needs to be a case of where we're going to discuss where it's like, I have no idea who's going to win. That's what boxing's about, right? I don't like the big fights when it's like, he's going to win, isn't it? Like, we've got Canelo Caliplant coming up, for example, and I love the fight, but I think 100 people you ask, 100 will say Canelo. I think if you poll 100 people for this one, I think AJ will be favourite, but only just.
Yeah, I think AJ, so I think rightfully goes into the fight as a favourite, right? Obviously, naturally the bigger guy, the natural heavyweight. I do feel like some people in their head are thinking that Oleksandr Usyk's like a middleweight who's moved up. He's a big guy. For a cruiserweight, he's a big guy. I remember I met him, I think it was the first time I'd been like that close with him. I met him in New York, actually, before Joshua Ruiz won. And I saw him at the elevator. He was waiting for an elevator in the hotel. And I went and shook his hand, and like, I remember Lennox Lewis's hands like engulfing my whole arm. But I also remember, I remember that feeling as well of like shaking hands with Usyk and thinking, oh shit, he's big. Like, he's a big guy, really big forearms, big neck, like massive calves.
Back.
Yeah. So he's not this like small guy who's moving up. I think it's probably fair to say that he's a small heavyweight, but a heavyweight nonetheless.
Yeah, he's been a heavyweight now since the Bellew fight. Basically, he's been a heavyweight, right? He's moved up immediately after that, and he's now grown into it. This isn't a guy that just turned heavyweight where you kind of feel like, is he going to struggle with the walk around weight? No, he's just a big guy now. 20 years ago, he's a heavyweight. He's a normal size heavyweight. It's like now the guys are just giants, and that's why he maybe looks undersized, but he's still 6'3". He's still going to come in and around 16 and a bit stone. He's a big guy, but he's a big guy that can move. Like, I was worried, if he does pack on the extra weight, will he still be as nimble as the fights I've done in the lead up to the fights to do a bit of research? Is he going to be as nimble as he was against a Gassiev who's physically a bit bigger but slower? I think he will be. I think AJ is going to need to dent this guy and dent him early, or it's going to be a very, very difficult 12 rounds. And my heart can't take it. My heart is about to take it. AJ going through 12 rounds of war with this kid.
Yeah, I agree with you, what you said there about making a dent on him early. I think he really needs to make him feel that power early on in the fight. Derek Chisora, for 3 or 4 rounds, give Usyk a good fight. After that, I felt like it was pretty much one-way traffic. I did feel like Usyk won the fight very, very clearly. And it's also worth pointing out that nobody fights like Derek Chisora in the heavyweight division, which is that come forward, smash mouth style and try and get in his face. But I do think Joshua needs to land something early to make Usyk feel it. And Usyk, you know, people talk about him like a bigger version of Lomachenko. They aren't the same in that style. He's not that elusive. He can be hit. You mentioned the Michael Hunter fight. You mentioned the Myris Bradis fight. He can be touched. He catches a lot of shots. Yeah. So a lot of shots on the arms and stuff. And when you're catching that against a cruiserweight, that's one thing. But even when you're against a heavyweight, even the shots you're catching on the arms and the forearms, exactly, and it tires you out as well. If it goes into the second half of the fight,
that's when I won't be able to take it mentally.
That's the thing.
That's
I think
the
like
scary thing for me.
For Anthony Joshua, and look, I think a lot of people look at the first Ruiz fight, and I think they probably pay too much mind to that. In my opinion, I think Anthony Joshua showed in the rematch, admittedly against let's say a less than shapely. Well, he's a great shape. He was round. Andy Ruiz. He still boxed a very disciplined game plan, and there was a lot of pressure on Anthony Joshua going into that fight. But again, it's like what you've said about Tony Bellew, that kind of consistent pressure, that getting that front foot in between Anthony Joshua's feet and having a look and forcing him to work without really doing much.
This is it.
I'm interested to see what Joshua employs. You mentioned that being slimmer and looking lean.
Don't get me wrong, still a mountain. It's funny because when I say slimmer, obviously I remember when me and you were in Saudi Arabia and we saw him get on the scales for the Ruiz fight, and I think our mouths were ajar. Like, what?
Like, I was heavier than AJ.
Yeah.
He was like, I think he was like 16 10 or 11 or something.
He actually looks even lighter, didn't he, than that? Like all the chest muscles and the shoulder, the delts didn't look sort of as prominent as we're used to. He's not that. He still is a big guy. Like when his arms were huge and his chest was still big, but I could see that he is still a lot lighter. I do feel with AJ there was a bit of a vanity thing with him, maybe wanting to be
Takam fight.
Yeah, 18 stone 4, dude, or something ridiculous.
He
like
was
that.
massive,
just too big. Like what are we doing? And I feel like now he understands his body a lot more, and maybe he understands his flaws as well. AJ isn't Muhammad Ali or Lennox Lewis or Larry. You know, he knows what he is now, and I think that's important as well. Like he knows the vulnerability is there. Accept it. It is what it is. You know, you're not going to build muscles on your chin. You just got to learn how to box and not get involved as much. And I think we saw that against Kubrat Pulev, and I think that's almost a performance that kind of goes under the radar as a clean, solid performance and not getting stuck in. And when he did get stuck in, he was out of the pocket very quickly. The difference is that Kubrat Pulev isn't going to be as smart and aggressive and as good, and you know, he's not going to show him the looks that Usyk's going to give him. And again, this is the beauty of boxing. I want there to be that danger. I want to be fearful. Almost, we're going to talk about Wilder and Fury in a minute. I want it to be like that. And it should be like that. At the top table of boxing, it should be a case of anything can happen, you know. It should be that fear, and it shouldn't be a case of, AJ's going to win, Fury's going to win, let's get it on again. No. There should be that danger, and I think for AJ, there's a lot of danger. You mentioned Lomachenko, and it is a bit like Lomachenko, to the point where it's continued pressure, but it's not sort of just reckless pressure.
No.
You know what I mean? He's not taking shots. Like, you know, you get some of the Mexican fighters, sorry to tag them all under one, but they'll take a shot to get to land their shots. You know, a bit like Sam Egginton will take a shot to land his. Usyk is not taking shots on the way in. It's so smart. And I think AJ's jab is key to kind of keep him away, because once Usyk gets into the pocket, boy, he's good. He's very good.